The space around the Cathara Nebula had never seen so many ships. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of different worlds floated in careful formations. Each fleet stayed far from the others but close enough to watch everything. Captain Han Wu stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn and tried not to show his fear. Through the great windows, he could see alien ships unlike anything in human imagination. Some looked like living creatures with wings and tentacles. Others were perfect geometric shapes that hurt to look at. A few seemed to be made of pure energy. "Captain," Kimnari said quietly, "I count 347 ships so far. More arriving every hour. Any weapons pointed at us?" "All of them, sir," Han Wu nodded. He had expected that. When you showed up to a meeting in the biggest ship anyone had ever seen, people got nervous. Engineer Choi Min was sweating at his station. "Captain, the quantum barrier matrix is ready, but we've never tested it against alien weapons. Let's hope we don't have to test it today." Dr. Lee Sung hurried onto the bridge with a data pad in his hands. "Captain, I've been analyzing their fleet positions." "This isn't random, what do you mean?" "They're organized by power groups. The Ethereal Collective is here with 12 light ships. The Iron Talon Empire brought 20 war cruisers. The Harmony Coalition has bioships that register as alive on our sensors." Han Wu looked at the alien formations. Each group stayed in its own section of space, but they were all watching the Eternal Dawn. "How many total groups?" 7 major powers plus maybe 15 smaller ones. "Captain, this is like the United Nations, but for the whole galaxy." Communications Officer Song Hana looked up from her station. "Captain, we're getting a transmission. It's coming from the largest ship in the Iron Talon formation." "Put it on screen." The main display lit up with the image of Admiral Zorith. He was bigger than any human, with red skin and yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding metal. "Human vessel. I am Admiral Zorith of the Iron Talon Empire. You will prepare for boarding and inspection." Han Wu felt his crew tense around him. An inspection meant aliens coming onto his ship, looking at their weapons and technology. "Admiral Zorith," Han Wu replied carefully. "I am Captain Han Wu of the Earth vessel Eternal Dawn. We come in peace and seek only dialogue." Zorith's laugh was like breaking rocks. "Peace? You bring the largest war vessel in galactic history and speak of peace? This ship was built for exploration, not war. Then you will not mind proving this. You have 72 hours to agree to inspection. If you refuse, the combined fleets will consider you a threat to galactic security." The transmission ended. Han Wu looked around at his crew. They all understood what this meant. Submit to alien control or face the largest space battle in history. "Options?" Han Wu asked. Kimnari checked her tactical display. "Captain, even with all our weapons and shields, we can't fight 300 ships. What about running?" "The Void Runner ships would catch us. Their technology is built for chasing." Engineer Choi Min spoke up. "Captain, what if we don't fight or run? What if we do something else?" "Like what?" "Like talk to all of them at once." Dr. Lee Sung looked excited. "Captain Min might be right. These fleets don't trust each other any more than they trust us. Look at their positions." Han Wu studied the alien formations again. Lee was right. Each fleet was watching the others as much as they were watching the Eternal Dawn. "Area," Han Wu said. "Can you open a communication channel to all ships at once?" "Yes, Captain. But such a transmission would be heard by every vessel in the area." "That's what I want." Song Hana worked at her controls. "Channel open, Captain. You're broadcasting to everyone." Han Wu took a deep breath. The next few words might decide if humans would be welcomed into the galaxy or wiped out by it. "Attention all vessels. This is Captain Han Wu of the Earth ship Eternal Dawn. We know you have questions about our ship and our intentions. We want to answer those questions." The communication channels filled with alien voices talking at once. Then slowly they went quiet. "We humans are new to this galaxy. We have traveled between stars for less than 50 years. We built this ship because we wanted to explore, to learn, to make friends with whoever we might find." Admiral Zorith's voice cut through the silence. "Friends do not bring planet-killer weapons to first meetings." "You're right," Han Wu said. "We should explain. Area, show them our ship's real purpose." The Eternal Dawn's computers began broadcasting detailed scans of the ship's interior. The aliens could see everything. The massive hydroponics bays growing food. The hospitals with thousands of medical beds. The schools where human children learned about space. The research labs where scientists studied peaceful technologies. "This ship carries 30,000 people," Han Wu continued. "Most are scientists, doctors, teachers, and their families. We brought weapons because space is dangerous, not because we wanted to fight. A new voice joined the conversation. It was musical and strange, like wind chimes. This is Empress Telvania of the Harmony Coalition. Your ship's bio readings are unexpected. Why do you carry so many young ones? Because this is their future too, Hanwoo said. When we explore new worlds, we want our children to see them. When we meet new people, we want them to meet our families. The alien communications channels buzzed with activity. The idea of bringing families on exploration missions seemed to surprise them. Another voice spoke, this one cold and mechanical. This is primary node Zeta of the synthetic nexus. Your ship's weapon systems are capable of destroying planets. Explain this contradiction. Hanwoo had hoped they wouldn't ask about the weapons, but he decided to tell the truth. We built weapons because we were afraid. We didn't know what we would find in space. We thought there might be hostile forces that would try to hurt us or our families, so we built defenses strong enough to protect everyone on this ship. Defenses? This was Admiral Zorth again. Those are not defensive weapons. Admiral, a weapon is only as peaceful or as violent as the person who uses it. We hope never to fire these weapons in anger, but if someone threatens our families, we will defend them. The space around the nebula went quiet. For long minutes, no one spoke. Hanwoo could feel sweat on his forehead. Had he said too much? Not enough. Finally, a new voice spoke. It was ancient and wise, like starlight itself. This is Crixtal Vorthan of the Ethereal Collective. Human Captain, your words are interesting, but words are easy. How do we know your intentions are true? Because I'm willing to prove them, Hanwoo said. I invite representatives from each of your civilizations to board our ship. See our people. Meet our families. Judge for yourselves what kind of beings we are. The alien channels exploded with discussion. Some voices sounded angry. Others seemed curious. A few sounded afraid. Dr. Lee Sung whispered to Hanwoo. Captain, that was either brilliant or insane. Probably both, Hanwoo replied. Kim Nari was monitoring the alien fleets. Captain, some ships are powering down weapons, but others are charging them up. Which ones are charging? Iron Talon Empire ships mostly. A few others, Hanwoo nodded. He had expected this. Some aliens would see his invitation as a sign of weakness. Others might see it as a sign of confidence. Captain, Song Hana called, we're getting multiple responses. The Ethereal Collective wants to send a delegation. So does the Harmony Coalition. The synthetic nexus is calculating. What about the Iron Talon Empire? Admiral Zorth says he's still considering forcible inspection. Hanwoo looked out at the alien fleets. This was the moment that would decide everything. Would the galaxy choose diplomacy or war? Would humanity's first contact end in friendship or death? Arya, he said, prepare the main hangar bay for alien visitors, and prepare the ship for battle just in case. Yes, Captain. The Eternal Dawn hung in space, surrounded by the largest gathering of alien warships in galactic history. In a few hours, either the first interspecies diplomatic meeting would begin, or the first galactic war would start. Hanwoo had done everything he could. Now he could only wait and see if the galaxy was ready for humanity, and if humanity was ready for the galaxy. The massive ship floated in the darkness of space like a sleeping giant. Hanwoo stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars through the huge windows. The ship was so big that he could not see both ends from where he stood. This was the Eternal Dawn, and it was the largest thing humans had ever built. 50 years. That's how long it took to build this monster of metal and technology. Hanwoo remembered being a young officer when they started building it. Now he was the captain and his hair was turning gray. The ship was 15 kilometers long. It was like a floating city in space. Captain called Kim Nari from her station. She was his best officer, smart and quick. We're getting strange readings from the outer space areas. Hanwoo walked over to her screen. Numbers and lights flashed across it. He had been in space for 20 years, but he had never seen readings like this. What kind of strange? He asked. Energy patterns. Very big ones. They're coming from places we've never seen before, Nari said. Her fingers moved fast across the controls. The computer says these patterns are not natural. Hanwoo felt his heart beat faster. Not natural meant only one thing. Someone else was out there. Someone who was not human. How far away? He asked. At least 50 light years, maybe more. Hanwoo looked around the bridge. His crew was working at their stations. They had no idea that everything was about to change. For hundreds of years, humans had looked at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they might have their answer. The Eternal Dawn had been built for exploration. It had the best engines, the best computers, and the best weapons that humans could make. But Han Wu had hoped they would never need the weapons. He had hoped space would be peaceful. "Send a message to Earth," he said. "Tell them what we found." "Yes, sir." Han Wu walked back to the big windows. Somewhere out there in the dark between the stars, others were watching. He could feel it. Far away on a world made of crystalline light, Yuntai sat in a great hall. He was not human. His skin was blue and his eyes were like silver. He was part of the Valith Confederation, a group of peaceful planets that worked together. "The readings are getting stronger," said one of his helpers. "Something very big is moving in the Sol system." Yuntai had studied humans for many years. They were young and wild, but they were also clever. "Too clever, maybe. How big?" he asked. "Bigger than our largest space stations." "Much bigger." Yuntai felt worried. The humans had been quiet for many years, building things in their home system. The Confederation had watched but had not bothered them. Maybe that was a mistake. "Call the council," he said. "We need to talk about this." Back on the Eternal Dawn, Han Wu was reading reports from his officers. The ship had 30,000 people on it. Most were scientists and their families. There were doctors, teachers, and engineers. There were also 5,000 soldiers, just in case. The ship's computer, Area, spoke to him in a calm voice. "Captain, I have finished checking all systems. The ship is ready for its first mission." "Thank you, Arya. What's our status on the energy readings?" "The patterns are getting stronger." "I believe we are being watched." Han Wu was not surprised. A ship this big could not hide. Every planet with good telescopes would see them coming. "Area, if someone wanted to hurt us, could they?" "The Eternal Dawn has the best shields and weapons that humans have ever made. But I cannot say what weapons others might have." That was not the answer Han Wu wanted to hear. Dr. Li Sung came onto the bridge. He was the ship's expert on alien life. He was a small man with thick glasses, but his brain was like a computer. "Captain, I've been thinking about those energy readings," he said. "And? They're not random. Someone is sending signals. Different groups are talking to each other." "About us?" "I think so. The signals started right after we left Earth's moon." Han Wu sat down in his captain's chair. It was big and comfortable, but right now it felt like a target. Every alien in the galaxy might be looking at them. "How many groups?" he asked. Li Sung looked at his notes. "At least 5. Maybe more. They're using different types of signals, so they're probably different species." Kim Nari looked up from her station. "Captain, Earth Command is calling." The main screen lit up with the face of Admiral Park Yun. He looked old and tired. "Han Wu," the Admiral said. "We're getting reports from all over. Someone is watching us, we know, sir. We're seeing the energy patterns, too. It's bigger than that. Our deep space stations are picking up ship movements. Lots of ships. Big fleets." Han Wu felt cold. "Coming toward us?" "Not yet. But they're moving. Every major power in this part of the galaxy is doing something." The Admiral paused and looked directly at Han Wu. "Son, I think your ship scared them." Han Wu almost laughed. The idea that humans could scare anyone seemed crazy. Humans had never even left their own solar system before this. "What are your orders, sir?" "Continue with the mission. But be careful. Very careful." The screen went dark. Han Wu looked around at his crew. They had all heard the conversation. "Well," he said, "looks like we're going to meet the neighbors." Engineer Choi Min spoke up from the back of the bridge. "Captain, should I start warming up the weapons?" Han Wu thought about it. The Eternal Dawn had weapons that could destroy planets. They had built them hoping never to use them. "Not yet, but make sure everything is ready." "Yes, sir." Han Wu stood up and walked to the windows again. Somewhere out there, aliens were watching his ship. They were probably afraid of it. A 15-kilometer battleship would scare anyone. But Han Wu was afraid too. Afraid that the first meeting between humans and aliens would end in war. Afraid that his ship built for peace would bring only death. He looked at the stars and made a promise. Whatever happened, he would try to make friends, not enemies. Even if it killed him. The Eternal Dawn flew on through the darkness, carrying 30,000 humans toward their destiny. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, the galaxy held its breath. The age of humans alone in the universe was ending. What came next, no one knew. The conference room on the Eternal Dawn was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from 7 major alien civilizations sat around a huge table with humans for the first time in history. The room was so big that it had its own weather system, with gentle breezes and soft lighting that made everyone comfortable. Captain Han Wu sat at one end of the table, with Ambassador Park Soo beside him. Park was Earth's first xenodiplomat, chosen for this mission because he could speak 12 human languages and had a gift for making people trust him. Around the table sat the aliens who would decide humanity's future. Crixtal Vorthan glowed softly, his light changing colors as he thought. Empress Telvanya's hair moved like grass in wind, and small flowers bloomed and died in it as her mood changed. Admiral Zorth looked like he could break the table with his bare hands, but he was listening carefully to every word. Primary node Zeta sat perfectly still, processing information faster than any biological brain could imagine. Ambassador Keshatar took notes on a device that wrote in light. 2 other aliens represented smaller but important civilizations. Archon Velthara of the Ancient Collective, who was older than Earth itself, and Trademaster Quill of the Merchant Union, who wanted to know if humans would be good for business. The question before us, Ambassador Park Soo began, is not whether humans are peaceful. We have shown you our families, our schools, our hospitals. The question is whether the galaxy can accept a species that believes in peace through strength. Archon Velthara spoke in a voice like distant thunder. Explain this concept. How can strength create peace? Han Wu stood up and walked to the great windows that showed the alien fleet still gathered outside. Honored Archon, look at your fleets. Why did you bring so many ships to meet us? Because your ship is a threat. Exactly. And why did you not attack us immediately? Because your ship is powerful enough to defend itself. So our strength forced you to talk instead of fight. Velthara considered this. You suggest that overwhelming power prevents war? I suggest that when fighting becomes too expensive, people choose talking instead. Primary node Zeta's mechanical voice cut through the discussion. This logic has statistical support. Species with massive defensive capabilities experience 47% fewer conflicts than species with moderate military strength. Trademaster Quill rubbed his tentacles together. In what humans would learn was a sign of excitement. But such massive ships must be expensive to build. How do humans afford such construction? Chief Engineer Lim J activated a holographic display. Honored Trademaster, this ship represents 50 years of human cooperation. Every nation on Earth contributed resources, knowledge, and people. Your entire species worked together on one project? Yes. The aliens looked at each other with surprise. Most species had trouble getting 2 planets to work together, let alone an entire world. But why? Asked Empress Telvanya. What made humans unite for this purpose? Ambassador Park smiled. Because we were lonely. For thousands of years, humans looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Building this ship was our way of answering that question. And now you have your answer, Admiral Zorth said. You are not alone. The galaxy is full of life. Yes. And now we want to be part of it. Crixtal Vorthan's light grew brighter. But human captain, your ship troubles us not because it is powerful, but because it is so powerful and yet carries families. This suggests either great confidence or great foolishness. Han Wu had been expecting this question. Honored Crixtal, it suggests something else. It suggests that we trust our own intentions completely. Explain. Would you bring your children on a ship you plan to use for conquest? Would you risk their lives in aggressive wars? Only someone who truly intends peace would put their families on their most powerful warship. The conference room fell silent. The aliens had not considered this logic before. Dr. Lee Sung spoke up. Honored guests, I have studied your histories. Each of your species went through a phase where they built massive weapons. But humans are different, how? Asked Ambassador Keshatar. You built weapons first, then learned to control them. Humans learned to control ourselves first, then built weapons. Primary node Zeta processed this claim. Evidence? Humans have had planet-killing weapons for over 300 years. Nuclear bombs, orbital kinetic weapons, biological warfare. We have never used them to destroy an inhabited world. Never, never. We came close a few times, but we always chose restraint. Archon Velthara leaned forward. Why? Han Wu looked around the table. Because we learned something that maybe other species learned later. The power to destroy everything is only valuable if you never use it. But Captain, Trademaster Quill said, what happens when your restraint is tested? What if someone threatens your families, your worlds? The room grew cold. Every human at the table felt the same chill. This was the question they had hoped no one would ask. Then, Han Wu said quietly, "We would show you why building weapons first was a mistake." Admiral Zorith grinned, showing sharp teeth. "Now you sound like a warrior." "No, Admiral. Warriors fight because they want to win. We would fight because we had no choice. Is there a difference? All the difference in the galaxy." Engineer Lim J reactivated his display. "Honored guests, let me show you something that might help explain human thinking." The hologram showed the Eternal Dawn's weapon systems in detail. The aliens could see fusion cannons that could melt mountains, kinetic weapons that could shatter moons, and energy shields that could deflect solar flares. These weapons were designed to fight an enemy we imagined, Lim explained. An enemy that would attack without warning, show no mercy, and fight to the death. "What enemy?" asked Empress Telvania. "Ourselves." The aliens looked confused. "We built these weapons to fight humans," Han Wu explained. "Evil humans. Human pirates, human conquerors, human tyrants. We designed every system on this ship to fight the worst possible version of our own species. But why? Because we know what humans are capable of when they turn bad. We know how we think, how we fight, how we hate, so we built weapons that could stop even us." Primary Node Zeta calculated rapidly. "This suggests that humans consider themselves the most dangerous possible threat." "Yes. This is illogical. Why would you assume your own species is maximally hostile?" Ambassador Park answered. "Because we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped we would never meet hostile aliens, but we prepared to fight enemies as smart and as determined as ourselves. And now," asked Krikstal Vorthan, "now we find that the galaxy is full of people much like us, different on the outside but with families, hopes, fears, and dreams. This is better than we hoped." "But you still carry planet-killer weapons." "Yes, because hope is not a plan." Trademaster Quill's tentacles writhed with thought. "Captain, what would convince you to reduce your weapons?" "Time," Han Wu said. "Trust builds slowly. As we get to know you and you get to know us, maybe we can all carry fewer weapons. And if trust never comes, then we all stay armed and careful. But at least we stay alive." Archon Velthara spoke in her ancient voice. "Human Captain, you present us with a paradox. You ask us to trust people who will not trust us. Honored Archon, we ask you to trust our intentions, not our capabilities. We intend peace, but we keep the capability for war. And if we do the same, then the galaxy becomes a very polite place where everyone is nice to each other, because being mean is too dangerous." Admiral Zorith laughed, a sound like rocks falling. "I like this human logic. Be so strong that no one wants to fight you." "It worked for the Iron Talon Empire," Ambassador Park pointed out. "Your people ended 3 interstellar wars just by showing up." "True, but we showed up to fight. You show up to talk. Different methods, same result. Peace." Empress Telvania's flowers changed color as she thought. "But what happens to species that cannot build such ships? What happens to the weak?" This was the question Han Wu had been waiting for. "They get protected. By whom?" "By us, by all of us. The strong protect the weak. That's what civilization means. Even if protecting them costs you resources, especially then." Primary Node Zeta found this concept difficult to process. "This behavior reduces survival efficiency." "Maybe," Han Wu admitted. "But it increases survival meaning." "Explain the difference," Dr. Lee Sung answered. "Survival efficiency means staying alive. Survival meaning means living for something worth staying alive for. And what do humans live for?" Han Wu looked around the table at the alien faces watching him. "We live for the idea that the universe can be better than it is. That people can be kinder than they have to be. That strangers can become friends. Even strangers with different numbers of arms and eyes, especially them." Ambassador Keshatar stood up. "Captain Han Wu, this has been educational, but we must return to our fleets and report what we have learned." "What will you tell them?" "That humans are exactly as dangerous as they claim to be, and exactly as peaceful as they hope to be." "Is that good or bad?" "We will find out." The alien representatives began to leave the conference room, but Archon Velthara remained behind. "Captain," she said when they were alone, "I have seen many species rise and fall. Most fail because they become too weak to survive or too strong to live with. You humans walk a narrow line between these fates." The news spread like fire across the galaxy. In the great crystal cities of Nexar Prime, The ethereal collective gathered for an emergency meeting. These beings were older than most stars. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. Krikstal Vorthan stood in the center of the crystal hall. His body was made of living light, and when he spoke, his voice echoed like music. But today his light was dim with worry. "Brothers and sisters," he said, "a new power has awakened." The other ethereals listened. They had felt it too. The humans had built something massive, something that bent space itself just by existing. "How large is this vessel?" asked another ethereal. 15 of their kilometers. Large enough to carry a city. The hall filled with whispers of light. The ethereals had seen many warships, but nothing like this. "What do we know of these humans?" asked an old ethereal whose light was silver with age. "They are young, quick to anger, quick to love. They have only just learned to travel between stars. Then why build such a monster?" No one had an answer. Far away on the metal world of Crag, the Iron Talon Empire was also talking about the human ship. But their meeting was very different. War Chief Garnock stood before a table full of his generals. He was big, even for his people. His skin was red like iron, and his teeth were sharp. "This human ship," he growled. "How many weapons does it carry?" General Vextar looked at his reports. "Unknown, War Chief. But something that size could carry thousands of weapons. Maybe more." Garnock smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Then we have two choices. Make them our friends or make them dead. What do you command, War Chief?" "Get our fleets ready. If the humans want to play with the big powers, they need to prove they deserve it." Back on Earth, Admiral Park Hyun sat in his office reading reports. Each one made him more worried. Every major alien power in the galaxy was moving ships. Some were moving toward human space. Others were moving to block them. His aide, Colonel Kim Dae, came in with more bad news. "Sir, the Harmony Coalition has launched their bioships. The Void Runners are moving their stealth fleets. Even the Synthetic Nexus is doing something." Admiral Park put his head in his hands. "How many total?" "Unknown, sir. But it looks like the biggest military movement in galactic history. All because of one ship?" "Yes, sir." The Admiral stood up and walked to his window. He could see the moon where they had built the Eternal Dawn. It seemed so peaceful now. "Get me a line to Captain Han Wu." On the Eternal Dawn, Dr. Lee Sung was working day and night. His job was to understand alien languages and cultures. But right now he was trying to understand something much scarier. "Area," he said to the ship's computer. "Show me the alien communications again." The air filled with patterns of light and sound. Each pattern was different. Some were mathematical. Others seemed like music. A few looked like chaos. "How many different groups are talking?" he asked. "I count 47 distinct communication patterns," Arya replied. "This suggests 47 different species or factions." Lee Sung felt sick. 47 different alien powers all talking about the human ship. What are they saying? Translation is difficult, but key words include threat, weapon, danger, and unknown. Any friendly words? Some groups use words that might mean interesting or curious, but most communications seem defensive. Lee Sung rubbed his tired eyes. The aliens were scared of humans. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was clear. Communications Officer Song Hana called from across the lab. "Dr. Lee, you need to see this." She showed him her screen. It was full of dots moving through space. "What am I looking at?" "Ship movements. Every dot is a fleet of alien ships. They're all moving toward this area of space." Lee Sung looked at the screen. There were hundreds of dots, maybe thousands. "They're coming here?" "Not exactly here, but close. It looks like they're setting up a meeting point." "A meeting about what?" "About us." On the bridge, Captain Han Wu was getting the same information. Kim Nari showed him the movement patterns. "Captain, they're not attacking, but they're not ignoring us either." "What do you think they want?" "I think they want to talk, but they're bringing a lot of guns to the conversation." Han Wu understood. In space, talk and fighting often look the same until the last minute. "How long until we reach their meeting point?" 3 days at current speed. Engineer Choi Min spoke up from his station. "Captain, should I power up the weapon systems?" Han Wu thought carefully. If he powered up weapons, the aliens might think he was planning to attack. But if he didn't, they might think he was weak. "Bring the shields online, but keep the weapons cold. I want to look ready to defend, not ready to attack." "Yes, sir." The next 3 days were the longest of Han Wu's life. Every hour brought new reports of alien fleets moving into position. The ethereal collective brought their light ships. The Iron Talon Empire brought their war cruisers. The Harmony Coalition brought bioships that looked alive. The Void Runners brought ships that were hard to see. Even stranger ships came from powers that humans had never heard of. Dr. Lee Sung worked without sleeping, trying to understand what the aliens were planning. Song Hana listened to their communications, looking for any sign of their intentions. Kim Nari watched their movements, ready to warn if any ship turned hostile. But the strangest thing was what the aliens were not doing. They were not attacking. They were not running away. They were waiting. "Arya," Hanwoo said, "what do you think they're planning?" "Based on their formations and communications, I believe they are planning to test us." "Test us how?" "Unknown. But every major galactic power is represented. This is not a normal response to a single ship. Then what is it?" "I believe, Captain, that we have accidentally done something that has never been done before." "What?" "We have made the entire galaxy notice us at the same time." Hanwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere ahead, hundreds of alien ships were waiting for the eternal dawn, waiting to see what humans would do when they met the galaxy. He had hoped for a quiet first mission. Maybe they would find some empty planets to explore. Maybe they would make friends with one or two alien species. Instead, they were flying toward the biggest gathering of alien powers in galactic history, all because humans had built one very large ship. "Well," he said to his crew, "I guess we're about to find out if building the biggest ship in the galaxy was a good idea or a very bad one." The Eternal Dawn flew on toward its appointment with destiny. Behind it, Earth waited for news. Ahead, the galaxy prepared for humanity's first real test. The main hangar bay of the Eternal Dawn had never been so quiet. Captain Hanwoo stood with his senior officers waiting for the first aliens to set foot on a human ship. The bay was huge, big enough to hold 50 small spacecraft, but today it felt very small. "Captain," Kim Nari whispered, "the first shuttle is approaching. It's from the Ethereal Collective." Through the energy barrier that kept the air in, they could see a ship made of crystal and light. It moved like it was floating on water, smooth and graceful. Behind it came other shuttles from different alien fleets. Some looked like metal insects. Others seemed to be alive. "Remember," Hanwoo told his people. "Be respectful, be calm. And if anything goes wrong, protect the civilians first." Dr. Lee Sung checked his translation device one more time. "Captain, the computer has been working on their languages, but there might still be mistakes." "Do your best, Doctor." The crystal shuttle touched down in the hangar with no sound at all. A door opened and light poured out. Then came the aliens. The first was Krixtal Vorthen of the Ethereal Collective. He looked like a man made of starlight, tall and beautiful in a way that made humans want to stare. Behind him came other ethereals, each one glowing with soft light. The second shuttle landed with a thump. From it came Empress Telvania of the Harmony Coalition. She looked like a mix between a human and a flower, with green skin and hair that moved like grass in the wind. Her people behind her were all different, some looking like animals, others like plants. More shuttles arrived. Admiral Zorith of the Iron Talon Empire stomped out of his ship like a walking tank. His people were big and red, with armor that looked grown rather than made. Primary Node Zeta of the Synthetic Nexus moved with mechanical precision, its body a perfect combination of metal and energy. Other aliens came too, from species humans had never seen. Some were small and quick. Others were large and slow. A few seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, hurting human eyes to look at directly. Ambassador Keshatar of the Valith Confederation was the last to arrive. He looked the most like a human except for his blue skin and silver eyes. He seemed to be the leader of this group. "Captain Hanwoo," Keshatar said in perfect English, "we thank you for this invitation, but we must tell you not all of us trust your motives." Hanwoo stepped forward. "Ambassador Keshatar, we understand your caution. If I were in your position, I would feel the same way." Admiral Zorith spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "Pretty words, human. But your ship carries enough firepower to destroy worlds." "Explain this." "I will," Hanwoo said. "But first, would you like to meet some of our people?" He gestured to the hangar entrance. Through it came a group of humans. Dr. Shin Young, the cultural anthropologist, Engineer Lim Jae, who designed the ship's peaceful systems, and most importantly, several families with children. The aliens stopped talking. They stared at the human children, who stared back with wide eyes full of wonder rather than fear. Little Park Min-ho, only 8 years old, walked up to Empress Telvania. Are you a tree? He asked in the simple way children do. Telvanya knelt down to his level. When she spoke, her voice was like wind through leaves. I am something like a tree, young one. Are you afraid of me? No, Minho said. You're pretty. Do you have children too? I do. They are far away on my world. Dr. Shin Young stepped forward. Honored guests, this is why we brought families on our ship. Space exploration is not just about adults making discoveries. It's about building a future for our children. Crixtal Vorthen's light grew brighter. Most species keep their young far from danger. Why do you bring them into the unknown? Because the unknown doesn't have to be dangerous, Hanwoo said. If we teach our children to be afraid of what they don't understand, they will grow up building walls instead of bridges. Primary node. Zeta processed this information. This approach is statistically unlikely to ensure species survival. Maybe, Hanwoo admitted. But it's more likely to ensure species happiness. Engineer Lim J activated a portable display. Honored guests, let me show you what this ship was really built for. The display showed the Eternal Dawn's internal structure. The aliens could see the massive hydroponic farms, the hospitals, the schools, the research labs, and the living quarters for 30,000 people. This is a city that travels between stars, Lim explained. Everything we need to live, to learn, to grow is on this ship. The weapons you're worried about take up less than 5% of the ship's space. Admiral Zorith examined the data, but they are still planet-killer weapons. Yes, Hanwoo admitted. They are. The hangar went silent. This was the moment Hanwoo had been dreading. Admiral, let me ask you something. If you had a family and you were taking them somewhere you had never been before, wouldn't you want to be able to protect them? Of course, that's all we did. We built the strongest defenses we could imagine, hoping we would never need them. Ambassador Keshatar spoke thoughtfully. But Captain, a weapon that can destroy planets is not a defense. It is a threat to everyone around you. You're right, Hanwoo said, and that's exactly why we hope never to use them. Dr. Lee Sung stepped forward with his translation device. Honored guests, may I share something we discovered about your own histories? The aliens looked interested but cautious. In studying your languages and cultures, we learned that each of your civilizations once faced the same choice we face now. When you first gained the power to destroy planets, you had to decide what to do with that power. Lee activated his device. It showed historical records from alien databases that the ship's computer had accessed. The Ethereal Collective chose to use their power to create, building worlds of light and beauty. The Harmony Coalition used their power to heal damaged planets. The Iron Talon Empire used their power to protect smaller species from cosmic disasters. Admiral Zorith looked surprised. How do you know this? Because powerful people remember when they had to choose between creation and destruction. Your histories are full of these moments. Crixtal Vorthan's light grew thoughtful. You suggest that humans face this choice now? We suggest that we have already made our choice, Hanwoo said. We chose to build a ship for exploration, not conquest. We chose to bring our families, not just soldiers. We chose to invite you aboard instead of shooting first. Empress Telvanya moved closer to the human children. But what if your choice is tested? What if you face those who would harm your young ones? Hanwoo's voice became hard as steel. Then we would fight. We would fight with everything we have. Even if it meant destroying worlds? Even then, the aliens exchanged looks. Some seemed impressed. Others seemed worried. Primary Node Zeta spoke in its mechanical voice. This presents a logical paradox. You claim to be peaceful, yet you threaten extreme violence. It's not a paradox, said Dr. Shin Young. It's human nature. We are peaceful until someone threatens what we love. Then we become very dangerous. Little Minho was still talking to Empress Telvanya. Do your children like to play games? He asked. They do, she replied. What games do human children play? We play Space Explorer. We pretend to visit new worlds and make friends with aliens. Telvanya looked at the other aliens, then back at the child. And in these games, do you ever fight the aliens? Only if they're mean to us first. But mostly we just want to be friends. Admiral Zorith knelt down to the boy's level. When he spoke, his voice was gentler than before. What would you do if you met real aliens, little human? I'd ask if they wanted to be friends. And if they did, I'd show them my toys. Zorith stood up and looked at Hanwoo. Captain, your ship troubles me, but your people give me hope. Ambassador Keshatar stepped forward. Captain Hanwoo, we came here expecting to find conquerors. Instead, we find families. We came expecting to find warriors, Instead, we find children who dream of friendship. What does this mean for our future? Han Wu asked. It means, Krixtal Vorthan said, his light growing warm, that perhaps the galaxy is ready for something new. Perhaps it is ready for humans. The aliens began talking among themselves in their various languages. Some arguments seemed heated. Others seemed excited. Han Wu waited, knowing that the next few minutes would decide humanity's fate. Finally, Ambassador Keshatar spoke for the group. Captain, we have decided. We will recommend to our governments that humanity be invited to join the galactic community. Han Wu felt relief wash over him. Thank you. But there will be conditions. What conditions? Your ship must be inspected by neutral parties. Your weapons must be monitored. And most importantly, you must prove that your peaceful intentions are real. How do we do that? Admiral Zorath smiled, and this time it was a real smile. You start by keeping your promise. You said you wanted to be friends. Show us how humans make friends. Little Minho looked up at the big alien admiral. Want to see my room? I have pictures of spaceships. Zorath looked at Han Wu, who nodded. I would be honored, young human. As the group began to move toward the ship's interior, Han Wu felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. The first contact between humans and aliens had not ended in war. Instead, it had ended with a child offering to share his toys. Maybe, Han Wu thought, humanity was ready for the galaxy after all.